Welcome to part 2 of Wrathborn of the Sapphire Steppe. The trenches had carried the clan deep into the cliffs, far enough that the fortress lost visual contact. But Rhyla kept turning back. Again and again. Searching the haze for a silhouette she desperately hoped to see. She never saw one. Vorin approached quietly. "He is dead." Rhyla flinched. "Don't say that." He stood under a fortress scanning fall. "No being survives that." "He is not like other beings," Rhyla shot back, but a tremor in her voice betrayed her fear. Jator approached, leaning on her staff. "Child," she whispered gently, "grief is not weakness, it is truth." Rhyla clenched her fists. "No, this is too soon. He was not meant to die here, not like this." Vorin shook his head. "He bought us time, bought us a chance to escape. If he died buying that time, then let his spirit rest." Rhyla turned away sharply. The rescued girl, the tiny child whose brother had been taken, clung to Ryla's leg. Her silver eyes were full of tears. "Is Kale gone?" Rhyla broke completely. She knelt and embraced the child. "I don't know," she whispered. "But if the moons are kind, no." The clan continued deeper into the cliffs, heavy with sorrow. Whispers spread among them. "Wrathborn has fallen. He stood against the sky. One man held back the fortress. His spirit guards our path now." Jatora looked at the horizon with sorrow. "He changed the wind. Even in death, he shifts our fate." Rhyla shook her head fiercely. "He's not dead. The steppe does not take those it still needs." But even she did not fully believe the words. Hours passed. The clan disappeared deeper into the Reaver Cliffs. The fortress left the horizon. Silence reclaimed the plateau. Only then did a hand, bloodied, shaking, push aside a chunk of crystal debris. Kale dragged himself out from beneath the shattered slab, gasping for breath. He collapsed to one knee, ribs screaming. His right arm hung at an angle that was not natural. His skin was torn, bruised, burned. His neural implants buzzed painfully. He was alive because he wasn't fully human. Titan frame augmentations had saved him. Barely. But something else had saved him too. The cliffs. He touched the stone beneath him. It hummed softly, energy running through its crystalline structure like hidden lightning veins. Kale muttered under his breath, "This place isn't just rock." He stood on shaking legs and looked around. Everywhere, the cliffs sparkled faintly, as though alive, as though aware, as though reacting to the fortress's presence. He whispered, "You repelled them." He followed the hum deeper into the stone and felt a resonance that made his skin crawl, but not with fear. With understanding. "They didn't come for the clan," Kale murmured. "They came for me." He ran a hand through his blood-matted hair. The Vrax had scanned him, classified him, marked him as priority. Why? Because Titan frame soldiers were engineered to kill kaiju-class invaders. Because he was a weapon. Because, even alone, he was considered a threat, a nemesis-class target. His survival wasn't luck. It was a warning. They will not stop. They will never stop. Not until he is captured. Or destroyed. He exhaled raggedly. Damn it. He suddenly understood exactly what he had done to the clan. He had made himself their greatest liability, and their greatest shield. He staggered toward the direction they had fled, using the cliff walls for support. "They need to know," he muttered. "They need to be ready. They need to move faster." He paused, sucking in a breath. "And I need to find a way to kill a fortress." Lightning crackled far above, illuminating his silhouette in stark blue light. Kale Rylan, broken, bleeding, hunted, began his descent into the cliffs after the clan. He whispered into the winds, "I'm not done." Night had fallen fully by the time Kale found the clan's trail again. His pace was slow, painfully slow, but unyielding. Every movement hurt. Every breath was a reminder that he should not be alive. Blood dried against his skin, cracking each time he stepped. But Titan frame augments pushed his body forward. The Reaver Cliffs glowed faintly under moonlight, jagged edges shimmering like a forest of obsidian trees catching silver fire. Kale followed the faintest traces left behind, a boot print in the dust, a talcun hoof gouge, a child's broken glowstone. His mind worked despite the pain. The Vrax fortress had scanned him, had prioritized him, had reacted with something disturbingly close to fear. This was no routine raid, no simple pursuit. They had recognized him, and they wanted him, badly. Kale clenched his jaw. This is going to be a problem. Ahead, the cliffs widened into a hidden valley. The clan had gathered there, fires dimmed to embers, tents erected close together, warriors posted at every corner. It was a temporary refuge, nothing more. But as Kale limped closer, a wave of whispers spread across the valley like wind through grass. Is that? No, it can't be. He lives. The Wrathborn returns. Rhyla was the first to reach him. She actually ran toward him, breath catching when she saw the blood, the burns, the limp. Kale, by the moons. She grabbed his arm. I thought you were. Dead? Kale rasped. She nodded, trembling. Yes. Almost was. Vorin approached slower, eyes wide, not with awe but with disbelief. Nothing survives a fortress beam, he whispered. Kale shrugged weakly. I'm not nothing. Rhyla tightened her grip on his arm. Sit. Now. He didn't argue. She lowered him beside a dim ember fire, signaling for healers. The rescued child, Ankesh's sister, peered from behind an elder's robe, eyes filled with relief. Rhyla touched Kale's cheek, inspecting the burns. How did you survive? Kale wiped blood from his brow. Not gracefully. You're half dead, she whispered. I've been worse. Rhyla blinked at him, tone softening. Your eyes don't lie, Kale. He looked away. You shouldn't have come back alone, he said. Neither should you, she replied gently. And for a moment, the world felt still. Healers wrapped crystalline moss around his wounds, a glowing herb that sealed gashes and soothed burns with cool pulses of bioluminescence. Titan frame regen would handle the rest, but the moss helped take the edge off. When Kale finally stood again, Jatora waited. She studied him the way a scholar studies an omen. You bear the scent of lightning, she murmured. And the mark of something older than the steppe. Kale didn't flinch. The Vrax scanned me, hard, and they didn't like what they found. Rhyla and Vorin exchanged looks. Jatora asked, Tell us what they saw. Kale sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. They saw I'm not from this world, that I'm enhanced, that my body, what it can do, poses a threat. He looked up at them. They classified me as Nemesis class. That means they will not stop until I'm eliminated or captured. Rhyla stared at him. So, it is you they hunt. Not the clan, Kale confirmed. You're collateral. They'd take you too, but you're not the target. Vorin growled. Then why help us? Why sacrifice yourself? Kale hesitated. He'd asked himself that same question, because he knew what happened to people taken by invaders, because he saw the same fear in their eyes he'd once seen in his sisters, because he couldn't turn away. But all he said was, because it's the right thing to do. Rhyla stepped closer. You're not alone, Kale. Let us help you. He shook his head. You can't fight the Vrax. Vorin's jaw tightened. But you can. No, Kale said sharply. Not alone. Not directly. Jatora lifted her staff. Then what do you propose? Kale looked between them. At the fortress, I learned something. The cliffs disrupted their scanning badly. They hate this place. Fear it. The static inside the stone almost damaged them. Rhyla frowned. Damaged? Kale nodded. They withdrew. They were afraid of the cliff's energy. That tells me something important. He stepped close to the fire, letting the light carve shadows across his bruised face. Terenas isn't defenseless. The clan murmured. Rhyla leaned toward him. What do you mean? Kale took a breath. The cliffs, the static storms, the crystal formations, the energy signatures. Something in this land disrupts Vrax technology. If we learn how to harness that, just control it a little. He looked around at the gathered warriors. You can fight back. A hush fell. Even Vorin's bravado faltered. Jatora exhaled slowly. You speak of reshaping the world. I speak of using what's already here, Kale said. Rhyla whispered, You want to build a defense? No, Kale corrected. I want to build a chance. Later that night, long after the children had been put to sleep and the fires burned low, Kale stood alone at the edge of the cliffs. The wind tugged at his torn clothing. The stars shimmered unfamiliar patterns above. The stone beneath his hand hummed faintly, like a living creature breathing beneath the earth. Rhyla approached quietly. I knew you weren't dead, she said softly. Kale smirked weakly. Confident, were you? No, she admitted, just hopeful. He studied the cliffs ahead, towering, jagged silhouettes etched against the twin moons. Your people, they don't have the tools to fight a fortress, Kale said, but they have something better. What? Terenas itself. He gestured at the cliffs. These formations, they channel energy in unpredictable ways. If we figure out how they work, if we learn their patterns, we can create zones the Vrax can't enter. Safe paths, ambush sites, maybe even traps. Ryla's breath caught. You think this land can be our weapon? Yes. He touched the stone. It already saved me. Rhyla stepped beside him, watching the same horizon. Then we start tomorrow, she whispered. Kale hesitated. She turned to him. What? He exhaled slowly. They're coming back, he said, and next time they won't scan. They'll strike. Ryla's eyes hardened with fear. What do we do? Kale didn't turn away from the cliffs. His gaze was steady, determined. We prepare. He clenched his fist. We learn this land. Every ridge, every fault, every lightning vein, everything the Vrax fear. For what purpose? Rhyla whispered. Kale finally looked at her. To survive. And after a long pause, and eventually? He squared his shoulders, Titan frame augmentations humming faintly beneath his skin. To hit back. The wind howled through the cliffs. Far away, a fortress roared in the night sky. And deep beneath the earth, the steppe seemed to stir, as if answering Kale's call. At dawn, Kale stood before the clan's warriors. The cliffs cast long, jagged shadows across the valley, and shards of crystal hummed faintly with the energy of the coming day. The air smelled of cold wind and ancient stone. Rhyla, Vorin, and 20 seasoned hunters formed a semicircle. Even the children peeked from tents, watching the Wrathborn with wide eyes. Kale cleared his throat. I'm not here to turn you into soldiers, he said. Vorin grunted. Good. We're hunters, not metal-clad brutes. Kale shot him a look that shut him up instantly. I'm here, Kale continued, to teach you how the Vrax fight and how to live long enough to strike back. He motioned for Rhyla to hand him a spear. She did. Kale examined it. Crystal-tipped, balanced, elegant. This spear is useless against their armor, he said. Vrax plates are grown from alloyed chitin. Your weapons will bounce off. Warriors murmured nervously. However, Kale said, tapping the crystal ridge with the spear, you can disable their drones, their skiff sensors, and their tendril emitters. He walked toward a tall crystal pillar and rapped the spear against a glowing vein inside it. Immediately, the stone hummed and released a thin pulse of blue static. Ryla's eyes widened. It reacts to vibration? Kale nodded. Yes, and when struck correctly, these crystals release directional static bursts. The Vrax rely on sensor clarity, disrupt it, and half their systems glitch. Vorin frowned. You want us to throw spears at rocks? No, Kale said, planting the spear tip on a glowing seam. I want you to use the land as a weapon. He twisted the spear gently. Crack! A small explosion of static surged outward, harmless to organics but strong enough to scramble a scanning drone Kale had salvaged earlier. The drone sparked, fizzled, and crashed into the dirt. Gasps rippled across the group. Rhyla whispered, the cliffs themselves, they can blind the Vrax. Kale nodded. Exactly. Your ancestors weren't hiding in these cliffs, they were using them. He tossed the spear to Vorin, who caught it instinctively. Your turn, Kale said. Vorin struck the pillar, but at the wrong angle. Nothing happened. Try again, Kale said. Grumbling, Vorin adjusted, trying different angles, until, boom, crack, a static surge burst from the pillar, powerful enough to knock Vorin back a step. He stared at his hands, stunned. Rhyla smirked. Looks like the cliffs prefer Kale's technique. Kale stepped forward. The cliffs respond to vibration, frequency, and angle. With training, every warrior here can learn to create these bursts. Jatora approached, leaning on her staff. Her ancient eyes glowed faintly. You teach the steppe to sing again, she said quietly. The land remembers war. Kale inhaled deeply. I don't want another war, he said. But the Vrax are giving us no choice. Rhyla rode with Kale to scout the southern edge of the Reaver Cliffs. The Sapphire Steppe spread below them in endless waves, blue grasses shimmering in the morning sun. Crystal ridges cast long shadows across the terrain. Kale's visor flickered with faint sensor anomalies. Something's wrong, he muttered. They crested a ridge and stopped cold. Below on the steppe floor was a sight Kale had hoped never to see again. A Vrax ground forge. Organic metal machines burrowed into the earth, pulsing as they extracted ores from the soil. Bioengineered towers swelled like swollen cysts on the landscape, glowing with sickly amber veins. Slave pens, wide, open, guarded. Hovering skiffs circled like vultures, Rhyla's breath caught. By the moons, they poison the land. Kale nodded slowly, dread settling into his gut. The Vrax don't just conquer, they terraform. They reshape worlds from the ground up. Rhyla's voice trembled. Those people down there. Kale zoomed in with his visor. Terenan villagers, hundreds, chained and forced to haul glowing mineral clusters into containment pits. Vrax overseers lashed them with electric whips. Kale clenched his fists. I've seen this before, he growled. They'll work them until they collapse. Then they'll bring replacements. Rhyla turned to him. We must help them. No, Kale said sharply. Not yet. That forge has a guard rotation, net skiffs, a central emitter. We go down there now, we die. Rhyla glared. So we watch them suffer? Kale swallowed hard. No, he said again, quieter. We learn the layout. We learn their weaknesses, then we strike. When? She demanded. When I understand what they're building, he said. He scanned the forge again and froze. In the center of the compound, chained with plasma restraints, was a massive shape, too large for a Terenan, too large for any known beast. Rhyla saw it too. What is that? She whispered. Kale didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was low. They're making a war beast. Rhyla shuddered. For what purpose? Kale's jaw tightened. To hunt me. Kale and Rhyla hid behind a crystal outcrop, watching as Vrax engineers crawled across the monstrous creature like insects. The beast was partially mechanical, its spine reinforced with amber alloy, its limbs plated with chitin, tubes pulsed with glowing fluid. Its eyes, though closed, were too large, too aware. Rhyla whispered, What is it? A biosynth predator, Kale said grimly. They breed these things to track Nemesis-class targets, soldiers like me. Rhyla stared at him with dawning horror. They're not just hunting you, they're building a weapon specifically for you. Yes, Kale said, because they're afraid. The war beast stirred, its head lifted slightly, sniffing the air. Kale froze. Rhyla grabbed his arm. It senses you. It shouldn't, Kale said. We're too far. But the beast let out a low, guttural growl. Its nostrils flared. It jerked against its chains, muscles bulging beneath armored hide. A Vrax overseer hissed angrily, stabbing it with a neural prod. The beast shrieked but kept straining toward the cliffs, toward Kale. Kale, Rhyla whispered, we need to go. Not yet, he said, eyes narrowing. I need to see. The beast's eyes snapped open. Glowing amber pupils slit the dawn, and it roared. The sound shattered crystal formations around them. Vrax skiffs turned sharply toward the cliffs. Kale swore. Move. They ran, leaping between shard pillars, sliding down embankments, ducking low as scanning lights swept the cliffs. Behind them, the war beast strained hard enough to crack the forge floor. Its roar followed them through the valleys. Kale and Rhyla didn't stop until they reached the safety of the hidden valley where the clan waited. Vorin rushed to them. What happened? Before Rhyla could answer, Kale spoke, voice flat, cold, controlled. They're coming for us, and not just the fortress. Rhyla put a hand on his arm. They built a monster. Kale nodded slowly. And when they release it, it will track me, it will find me, and it will tear through anything between us. The clan fell silent. Children hid behind their elders. Warriors tightened their grips on weapons. Even Jatora paled. What must we do? Rhyla asked. Kale looked out over the cliffs. His bruises ached, his cuts throbbed, his muscles burned, but his voice was steady. We prepare the cliffs, he said. We learn the stones. We train every warrior to fight using the land. He turned to Rhyla. And then we hit that forge. Her breath quickened. To rescue the captives? Yes, Kale said darkly. And to destroy the beast before it can hunt us. The wind howled across the Reaver Cliffs. Deep beneath the earth, the steppe seemed to whisper. Wrathborn, Wrathborn. The next 3 days reshaped the clan. Kale moved slowly, still battered from the fortress strike, but he pushed through his pain with Titan frame resilience. The nomads watched with equal parts awe and worry. He bled, he limped, yet he refused rest, because time was running out. Each morning began the same way. A deep hum emanated from the cliffs, vibrating through the crystal formations like the breathing of some ancient creature. Mist clung to the ground. Warriors gathered in disciplined lines. Kale stood before them with Rhyla at his side. Your ancestors didn't build this place, Kale told them. They survived because of it. He knocked the butt of a spear against a crystal seam. The stone responded with a rippling wave of static. Vorin winced. It still feels unnatural. It isn't, Kale said. This is science, not sorcery. Frequency, density, vibration. You hit the right place. He struck again. A controlled pulse arced forward, and the stone does the rest. The warriors practiced for hours, learning where to strike, how hard, At what angle? With what rhythm? The cliffs answered differently each time. Some pulses were small, harmless, others powerful enough to stun drones. Kale set out his targets. The nomads laughed when one pulse accidentally launched a drone straight into Voron's chest. The big warrior groaned. "If you tell anyone," Rhyla smirked. "Too late." Even Kale cracked a smile. But beneath the training, beneath the laughter, sat a gnawing tension. The Vrax forge grew each day. Smoke rose beyond the southern horizon. Night skies flickered with amber light. And something moved within that forge. Something colossal. That night, the clan gathered around a small, carefully shielded fire. Warriors massaged bruises from training, elders whispered prayers to the moons, children traced glowing patterns in the sand. Rhyla found Kale standing alone on a ridge overlooking the steppe. The wind whipped at his torn clothing, and the light of the twin moons cast sharp shadows across his face. "You train them well," she said softly. Kale didn't look at her. "They learn fast." "You don't sleep," she said. "You barely eat." "I don't need much." "That's not what I mean." Kale clenched his jaw. Rhyla stepped beside him, studying him closely. "You say you were engineered for war," he exhaled. "Yes. And that Titan frames don't need sleep?" Kale shook his head. "We sleep. Less. And when we do dream, it's never peaceful." Rhyla paused. "What do you dream of?" Kale didn't speak for a long time. When he finally did, his voice was low, flat, almost hollow. "Cities burning, people running, monsters tearing through streets, my squad dying one by one, the things I was built to kill, adapting, learning," he swallowed, "and me failing to stop them." Ryla's expression softened. "You carry too much alone." "That's the point of my design," Kale whispered, "to carry what others can't." She touched his arm gently. "You're not alone anymore." He nearly pulled away, instinct, not intent, but she held her touch. Slowly, reluctantly, he allowed it. Rhyla looked out over the cliffs with him. "What scares you most?" she asked. Kale responded without hesitation. "Losing people who trusted me." Ryla's breath hitched. "Then trust us back," she said. "Let us share the weight." Kale turned to her, startled by the softness in her voice. She smiled faintly. "Wrathborn doesn't mean savior, Kale. In the old tongue, it means the one who stands through the storm." He blinked. "I didn't know that." "No one stands through storms alone." He took a slow breath. "I don't know if I can trust myself with your people," he admitted. "Not after what the Vrax are building." Rhyla frowned. "What do you mean?" Kale looked out across the steppe. His voice tightened. "They're not just building a predator. They're building the perfect predator. It's that one that can track Titan frames across any terrain, one that can adapt to my tactics, one that doesn't tire, doesn't question, doesn't fear." Ryla's eyes widened. "You've fought them before." "Yes," Kale whispered. "And some of them I didn't beat." The wind fell still. Neither spoke further, because words wouldn't prepare them for what was coming. The next morning, Kale froze mid-step during training. His head lifted, eyes narrowed, muscles tensed. Rhyla noticed immediately. "Kale, what is it?" "Quiet," he whispered. The entire training field fell silent. For a moment nothing moved. Then, a distant tremor. Soft at first, then stronger. A rhythmic pounding that rippled through the ground. Warriors stopped breathing. Children clung to their parents. Jatora stepped out of her tent, her eyes growing wide with dread. "It walks," she whispered. A second tremor. Another. The cliffs vibrated. High overhead, birds fled the valley in a panicked swarm. Fragments of crystal dust fell from outcroppings. Ryla's voice cracked. "Kale, is that?" "Yes," he said. "The war beast." A deep, guttural roar tore across the steppe, so powerful that it shook loose shards from the cliff walls. Several crystal formations split cleanly in half. The warriors staggered. Rhyla grabbed a pillar for balance. Jatora steadied herself with her staff. Kale stood unmoving. He had felt this roar before, on other worlds, against other monsters. He knew exactly what it meant. It had found his trail. Ryla's voice dropped to a terrified whisper. "Is it looking for us, or for you?" Kale didn't answer at first. Then quietly, "It doesn't know the difference." The war beast roared again, louder, closer. The sound shook the valley like thunder. Voron stumbled beside them, his bravado gone. "What do we do?" Kale's eyes flicked to the cliffs, to the crystal veins, the lightning currents, the natural defenses of the land. "We finished the training," Kale said. Rhyla gasped. "Now? It's nearly here." Kale nodded. "Exactly, and when it arrives..." He picked up a spear, inspecting the tip. We're going to show it what happens when it steps into the wrong world. Another roar split the air. Closer now, so close the stones beneath their feet trembled violently. Rhyla swallowed hard. Then let us be ready. Kale nodded once. For this fight, he said, we let the steppe fight with us. Lightning crackled across the cliffs as the war beast reached the edge of the valley. Its shadow fell across the rocks, massive, deadly, designed to kill him. And Kale whispered one word under his breath. Come. The war beast appeared at the far mouth of the valley like a nightmare birthed from the bones of the world. It stepped from the Sapphire Steppe and into the shadows of the Reaver Cliffs. And the earth recoiled. Long, powerful limbs ended in claws shaped like serrated scythes. Its skin was a blend of scaled chitin and matte black alloy plating that flexed like muscle. Amber fluid pulsed through transparent channels etched across its hide, glowing with the rhythm of a twisted heart. Its head was elongated, jaw reinforced with bone metal ridges. Eyes like molten gold scanned the cliffs with feral intelligence. Rhyla whispered, trembling, By the moons, it is enormous. Kale stared coldly at the creature. No, he said. Enormous is what you call mountains. This is something worse. The beast sniffed the air. A low, rumbling growl poured from its throat. Not just sound but vibration, a resonant frequency that rattled the stone beneath their feet. Children cried. Warriors looked at Kale for direction. Even Vorin took a half step back. The war beast lifted its head to the sky and roared. The roar hit like a shockwave. Crystal pillars shattered. Dust fell like rain. The air ionized with the scent of lightning. Kale's voice cut through the terror. Positions. Warriors scrambled to the points he'd marked earlier during training, behind crystal seams, under overhangs, beside pillars humming with energy. Rhyla pulled children into the deepest alcoves. Jatora whispered ancient chants beneath her breath, clutching her staff. Kale stepped forward, planting a spear beside him. He stared at the war beast. It has my scent, he said, and it won't leave without me. Rhyla grabbed his arm, voice cracking. You cannot face that alone. Kale met her eyes. I'm not alone. He tapped the cliff beside him. The steppe is with us. The war beast lowered its head. Its shoulder plates flared open like wings, and then it charged. The ground trembled as the beast thundered forward. Its claws gouged deep scars in the earth. Its breath steamed like furnace air. Kale dropped to one knee beside a glowing crystal seam. Now, he shouted. Rhyla struck the seam with her spear. A pulse detonated across the valley, blue static erupting in a wide wave. The war beast staggered mid-charge, its limbs jerking violently as its sensory tendrils glitched. But it did not slow for long. Kale sprinted sideways, drawing its focus. Over here, you bastard! The beast turned, snarling. It recognized him, wanted him, only him. It leapt and slammed into a narrow canyon wall Kale had deliberately led it toward. Crystal spikes shattered against its armored hide, but the impact dazed it long enough for Vorin and two warriors to strike the pillar above. Together! Vorin roared. They struck at the exact angle Kale had taught. The crystal seam detonated. A focused beam of static lanced downward, exploding against the beast's head. The creature reeled, shrieking, amber blood spraying across the stone. Rhyla gasped. It's working. No, Kale growled. It's beginning. The beast shook off the blast like a storm shakes off rain. Its plated spine arched. Its jaw opened wider than physics should allow. A crackling bolt of energy erupted from its throat, a directed shockwave. Scatter! Kale yelled. The bolt hit a pillar. The pillar exploded. Fragments flew like razored glass. Kale shielded a nearby warrior, taking shards along his arms and back. Pain flared, sharp, bright, almost blinding. But Titan frame bones held. Kale! Rhyla screamed. I'm fine, he shouted, lying through his teeth. The beast barreled toward him again. Kale rolled beneath its swing, barely avoiding claws that would have severed him in half. He grabbed a fallen spear, jammed it between plates on its leg, and twisted. The beast shrieked. Amber fluid hissed onto the ground. But the wound was not enough. Rhyla's spear flew past Kale's shoulder and struck the same spot, piercing deeper. The beast dropped to one knee. Vorin charged, roaring. For the steppe. He brought a crystal hammer down on the spear, driving it deeper into the beast's limb. The creature howled, thrashing wildly. It smashed Vorin with the back of its claw, hurling him across the valley. No, Rhyla cried. Kale sprinted to where Vorin lay. He was unconscious. Not dead. Barely. Kale stood between the fallen warrior and the approaching monster. "Kale," Rhyla murmured shakily, "we need to retreat." "No retreat," Kale said. "If it escapes this valley, it'll find us again. It'll pick us off one by one." Rhyla stared at him, tears in her eyes. "So what now?" Kale tightened his grip on his spear. "We bring it." Warriors readied their weapons. The war beast roared and prepared a charge, and the battle entered its final phase. The war beast rushed forward, limping, wounded, furious. Kale met its charge head-on. He planted his feet in the dust, shoulders squared, spear ready. Titan frame muscles swelled beneath torn skin. Every nerve screamed warning. "Come on," he roared. The beast lunged, jaws wide. Kale dove sideways, driving the spear into its exposed shoulder seam. The weapon sank deep, not enough to kill, but enough to enrage. It whipped its tail, striking Kale square in the chest. He flew backward into a crystal formation. Pain ripped through his ribs. The world blurred. "Kale," Rhyla screamed. He forced himself upright, coughing blood. The beast charged again, but the ground trembled, then trembled harder, then sang. A low hum rippled through the valley, pulsing from deep within the cliffs. Crystals flickered. Energy snapped through the air like lightning in slow motion. Rhyla gasped. "The steppe, it's responding." Jatora whispered, awestruck. "No, it awakens." Kale felt it too. The cliffs recognized the threat. They recognized him, and they were stirring. He staggered toward a tall crystal tower, one he had not yet used in training. It vibrated violently as he approached, as if urging him closer. "Kale," Rhyla warned. "That formation is unstable." "I know," Kale said. "It could kill you." "I know." He pressed his palm against the tower. The stone flared with blinding blue light. The war beast roared and lunged, and the cliff answered. A massive surge of static erupted from the tower, arcing across the valley. Not a pulse, not a burst, a wave. It slammed into the war beast, lifting the creature off the ground. Armor cracked, plates shattered. Amber blood sprayed in streams. The beast crashed onto its back, limbs flailing. Kale staggered, nearly collapsing from the energy discharge. Rhyla ran to him. "Kale, stop! The cliffs! They'll tear you apart!" Kale pushed her away gently. "No, not yet." He took another step toward the wounded war beast. The cliffs hummed louder. Crystals brightened. Lightning threads crawled through the stone like veins coming alive. The war beast struggled to stand. Kale raised his spear. "This land protects its own," he said through clenched teeth, "and I'm standing with it." He slammed the spear into the crystal tower, at the precise angle he had discovered. The valley exploded with light. A titanic surge of energy engulfed the war beast, and the monster finally screamed in fear. The Reaver Cliffs roared back. For a long moment after the final surge of energy faded, the valley was silent. Not peaceful, but stunned. The war beast lay sprawled on shattered stone, its armored plates cracked open, amber blood spreading across the ground like glowing tar. Tendrils twitched weakly. Its massive chest rose once, twice, then stopped. The clan did not cheer. They simply stared. Rhyla pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. Jatora clutched her staff in both hands, eyes wide in reverent horror. Vorin, still bruised from being thrown earlier, limped toward the corpse. He poked it with the tip of his spear. "It's dead," he breathed. "We actually killed it." A murmur spread across the warriors. Wrathborn did it. No beast survives the cliffs. The land fights with him. This is a sign. Rhyla turned sharply. "No," she whispered. "It wasn't the land alone. It was—" But her voice cracked and she stopped. Because Kale stood unmoving, still gripping the spear lodged in the crystal tower, still staring at the dead monster. His chest rose and fell in ragged, uneven breaths. Rhyla approached him slowly. "Kale?" He didn't turn. "Kale? Say something." He exhaled a long, shuddering breath. "It's not dead enough." Rhyla stiffened. "What do you mean?" Kale finally turned his head and she saw the exhaustion behind his eyes. The pain, the way his muscles trembled. "It was testing us," he whispered. "The Vrax never unleash a single war beast unless they have more." Ryla's blood ran cold. "You're saying—" "Yes," Kale rasped. "This was only the first." He yanked the spear free, stumbling as he did. Rhyla caught him. "Kale, you're hurt." He nearly collapsed into her arms. But he forced himself upright again. Titan frame augmentations kept him conscious. "Barely." "Gather the warriors," Kale said. "Get the children deeper into the cliffs. Double the perimeter watch." Ryla's brow furrowed. You think the Vrax will attack again now? No, Kale said. Worse. He looked toward the southern horizon. They'll react. The clan began tending to their wounded and collecting shards from the shattered crystal formations. Voran and several warriors investigated the warbeast's remains, some fascinated, others visibly disturbed. But Kale didn't see any of it. He sat on a broken stone slab near the edge of the valley, staring down at his hands. They trembled uncontrollably. Blood seeped through torn skin. His ribs throbbed with every breath. His enhancements allowed his body to endure far more than baseline humans. But they didn't make him invincible. Rhyla knelt beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. You're bleeding everywhere, she said. I've bled before. Kale, this is not pride. This is madness. You need rest. He didn't respond. Rhyla cupped his chin gently, turning his face toward her. Kale, look at me. His gaze met hers. For a moment, she saw past the hardened soldier, to the man barely holding himself together. You saved us, she whispered. Kale shook his head weakly. I delayed them, that's all. You protected us. He struggled for breath. Did what I had to. Rhyla frowned. Why do you keep talking as if your life doesn't matter? He blinked slowly. I was built to die for worlds that aren't mine. Kale murmured. It's what we do. Ryla's fingers tightened around his. That is not what you do, she insisted. Kale opened his mouth to respond, but his vision blurred. The ground wavered, then tilted, then vanished beneath him. Kale! Rhyla shouted. Jatora rushed forward, along with several healers. They caught Kale as he collapsed fully, body giving out at last. The old seer pressed her palm to his forehead. He burns with battle fire, she murmured. His spirit strains. He is still fighting, even in sleep. Rhyla looked desperate. Can you heal him? I can soothe his wounds, Jatora said softly, but his battle is within. His mind must rest. She looked at Kale with something like sorrow. This man carries storms inside him. He must learn to set them down before they consume him. Kale's eyes fluttered closed. His breathing slowed. The healers lifted him onto a bed of woven grasses and crystal moss, their glows pulsing gently against his battered skin. Rhyla stayed at his side. All this time, she whispered, brushing dirt from his cheek, you feared losing us, when the truth is. She swallowed hard, voice breaking. We fear losing you. Night fell over the Reaver Cliffs. Fires dimmed. Children slept fitfully. Warriors kept uneasy watch. The valley felt different now, charged, alert, as though the cliffs themselves were waiting. The warbeast's corpse lay in the darkness, glowing faintly with its amber blood. Insects avoided it. Even the wind refused to touch it. Voran stood near the outskirts, spear in hand. Rhyla, he said quietly, something feels wrong. Rhyla looked up from her place beside Kale's resting form. What do you sense? Not something, Voran murmured. Nothing. She frowned. Explain. No wind, no birds, no crystal hum, no echoes. He swallowed. The cliffs are silent. Rhyla stiffened. The cliffs were never silent. Then a distant rumble, deep, rhythmic, mechanical. Ryla's blood turned to ice. No, she whispered. Not now. Not when Kale can't stand. The rumble grew louder. Warriors ran to the southern ridge. What is that? A transport? No, listen. Kale's eyes snapped open. He bolted upright, gasping for breath. Rhyla rushed to him. Kale, you're not... But Kale wasn't listening. His pupils dilated. His enhanced hearing zeroed in on the rumble beyond the valley. He knew that sound. He knew it too well. No, Kale whispered. Rhyla grabbed his arm. What's coming? Kale slowly turned toward the south. The fortress won't risk another warbeast. What will they send? Kale stood, staggering but standing. He answered with a voice hollowed by dread. Harvesters. Rhyla paled. What are they? Kale swallowed hard. Machines that don't hunt individuals. His breathing quickened. They hunt populations. Jatora raised her staff, eyes glowing with prophecy. Children, she said softly, her voice trembling. The sky is changing. The southern horizon brightened. A massive shape emerged, larger than a skiff, larger than a warbeast. A floating engine of tendrils, saw blades, and writhing biomechanics. A harvester. And there was more than one. Kale whispered the only truth that mattered. We're out of time. The first harvester emerged from the southern haze like a nightmare uncoiling from the horizon. A floating monstrosity of metal sinew and biological cartilage, shaped roughly like a colossal manta creature with serrated wings. Its underside bristled with tendrils, long, bladed, articulated limbs that curled toward the ground like grasping fingers. Its mouth was a vertical slit of gnashing biometal teeth, glowing with internal furnace light. But the worst was its silhouette. There wasn't just one. There were three. 3 harvesters advancing slowly toward the Reaver Cliffs, their wings beating not air but radiant heat, shimmering waves that distorted the steppe grass far below. "They come like a storm," Jatora whispered. Vorin gripped his spear so tightly his knuckles whitened. Rhyla swallowed. "Kale, how do we fight these?" Kale didn't answer immediately. His breath was shallow. His wounds pulsed with pain, his body screamed for rest. But his mind snapped instantly into analysis. "Harvesters aren't hunters," Kale said. "They're collectors, sweepers. They scour an area, round up civilians, neutralize resistance, and leave nothing alive that can't be used." Ryla's face drained of color. "And they're coming here because of you?" "No," Kale said softly. "They're coming because I killed their war beast, and because the Vrax want captives now before they lose more assets." Vorin spat. "Then we run." "We can't outrun them," Kale said coldly. "They're meant to chase entire city populations. We move, they overtake us. We scatter, they herd us. We stay out in the open, they rip us apart." The warriors looked at one another, fear spreading like a contagion. "So what then?" Rhyla asked. "We die here?" Kale's jaw hardened. "No." He pointed at the jagged cliffs. "We use this valley, these stones, these lightning veins, these ancient currents. We make the cliffs fight again." The clan turned toward him, uncertain, terrified, but listening. Rhyla touched his arm gently. "Kale, you're barely standing." "I'll stand," Kale said, "even if it killed him." Kale pushed himself to the highest ridge overlooking the valley. His ribs ached with every step, his skin felt too tight for his own body. Blood seeped through bandages, his vision flickered at the edges. Rhyla stayed by his side, no matter how many times he insisted she help elsewhere. Below them, the clamp quickly. Warriors placed spears along crystal seams. Elders positioned children deep in protected hollows. Vorin trained a secondary group to strike pillars at the exact frequencies Kale had taught. Jatora walked along the ridges, chanting ancient words that harmonized faintly with the humming stone. Kale studied the valley with a soldier's eye. "This place funnels sound," he murmured. "These cliffs amplify energy. If we time it right, we might scatter the harvester's sensor grid." "Scatter?" Rhyla echoed. "Not destroy?" Kale shook his head. "They're too big, too armored. Even the cliffs can't break their cores. But if we blind them, confuse them, overwhelm their target acquisition." He traced the plan in the dust. 1. Draw them down into the narrowest point. 2. Strike the central pillars to create overlapping static fields. 3. Force them to misfire their nets into the cliffs. 4. Trigger a cascade detonation in the static veins. 5. Escape deeper into the cliffs during the confusion. Rhyla stared. "You've already thought through every step." Kale didn't look up. "I've fought them before, on 3 worlds. The last time, it took a platoon of Titan frames to bring down 2 harvesters." Ryla's breath hitched. "And we have one." "One," Kale agreed, forcing a grim smile. "And a lot of very angry cliffs." Rhyla reached out and touched his hand. "You said earlier the cliffs protect their own." "Yes." "Then maybe," she said softly, "they've claimed you too." Kale almost replied, but a tremor rolled through the earth. The first harvester had reached the outer boundary of the cliffs. Its wing blades scraped the stone. Sparks flew. Its tendrils lashed the earth, testing its stability. Then, a spiraling net of shimmering amber energy blasted downward, capturing nothing, but searching, scanning. The harvester let out a guttural, resonant bellow, not unlike the war beast's roar, but multiplied 100-fold. It shook the valley. Kale steadied himself. "Positions, it's starting." Rhyla hurried to join the warriors. Kale turned to Jatora. "Elder Seer, please, get the children as far back into the caverns as possible." Jatora's eyes glowed faintly. "I will." She paused. "And Kale, do not fall today. The steppe has not finished with you." He didn't get a chance to respond, because the second harvester slammed into the ridge above, and the first attack began. The moment the harvesters descended fully into the valley, chaos exploded. Tendrils whipped across the stone, slicing entire crystal columns in half. Amber nets fired from rotating emitters, seeking movement. Shockwaves pulsed from their wings, dislodging boulders and shattering outcroppings. And yet, the clan held their positions. Guided by fear, guided by training, guided by Kale. From her vantage point, Rhyla saw everything. She saw Kale limping into open ground to draw fire. She saw warriors striking crystal seams in perfect rhythm to scatter the nets. She saw children hiding deep behind whispering stone. She saw Voran shouting orders, his voice cracking with strain. And she saw the third harvester descending directly toward Kale. Her heart seized. "Kale!" she screamed. He turned and saw death coming. A massive tendril, thicker than a tree trunk, tipped with amber chitin, whipped downward toward him. Kale raised his spear, but his body was too slow, too wounded, too exhausted. He would not survive this strike. Rhyla didn't think. She moved. She sprinted down the valley slope, jumping across shattered ridges, weaving between pillars, ignoring the warriors calling after her. "Rhyla, no, stay back, you'll die." She didn't hear them. All she heard was Kale's ragged breath. All she saw was his figure, small beneath the monstrous shadow. All she felt was a force inside her screaming, "Not him, not today, not like this." She reached the central crystal seam, the one Kale said should never be struck without perfect alignment. Too unstable, too volatile, too dangerous. Rhyla slammed her spear into it with every ounce of strength she had. The cliffs screamed. A massive surge of energy erupted from the pillar, wild, uncontrolled, lightning cascading in all directions. The tendril descended. The energy wave hit it first. Amber plates cracked, flesh sizzled. The harvester recoiled, shrieking as its entire sensory array overloaded. Kale collapsed to one knee, stunned but alive. Ryla's arms shook violently. Her vision blurred. Static crawled across her skin like fire. Kale staggered to his feet. "Rhyla, what did you?" "I made," she gasped, "a choice." He grabbed her, pulling her out of the strike zone as the unstable crystal seam prepared to blow. "You shouldn't have. I won't let this world take you," she whispered fiercely. Then, boom! The crystal seam detonated. Energy flooded the valley. The three harvesters shrieked in unison, their sensor grids fried, their nets collapsing, their tendrils flailing blindly. Voran shouted in astonishment. By the storms, she blinded them. Jatora gasped, clutching her staff. "She has awakened the cliffs." Fury. Kale held Rhyla close as the valley erupted in lightning, and in that moment, everything changed. Because one woman with a single impossible strike had turned the tide. The clan saw, the cliffs felt, and the Vrax would not forget. The moment Rylan's stable strike detonated the crystal seam, the entire valley became chaos. The three harvesters let out shuddering, metallic bellows, blind, disoriented, thrashing against the cliffs. Their wings sputtered, firing bursts of amber sparks that rained down like toxic stars. Their tendrils whipped wildly, carving deep scars into the stone. One slammed directly into a cliff wall. The impact sent a cascade of crystal shards crashing down like an avalanche. Rhyla and Kale dove behind a stone archway as debris exploded around them. Rhyla groaned. "Kale, we have to get the clan out." Kale grabbed her arm firmly. "You can't strike like that again." Her pupils were dilated. Her skin shimmered faintly with residual static. A tremor ran through her hands. "I know," she whispered. "What you did could have killed you. I know that too." Her voice was weak, but her eyes burned with defiance. "We can talk about my choices later. Right now," she pointed at the collapsing ridge, where warriors scrambled to guide children deeper into the hollow tunnels. "We need to move." Another harvester crashed sideways into a pillar, shattering it like brittle glass. A blast of wind and dust swept across the valley. Voran charged through the storm, shouting, "Kale, the cliffs can't hold them much longer." Kale nodded. "Get everyone to the inner caverns. Stay close to the walls. Harvesters can't angle their tendrils there." "And you?" Voran demanded. Kale turned, grimacing as pain racked his ribs. "I'm the reason they're here. I'll buy you the time you need." Rhyla whipped toward him. "No. You're barely standing. Standing's good enough. Kale?" "Rhyla." He met her eyes. "I won't let them take any of you." The ground trembled violently. They didn't have time to argue. The harvesters moved in unpredictable lunges, stumbling, shrieking, slamming tendrils into the cliffs as their internal navigation flickered. Kale sprinted across the valley floor, dodging falling debris. A sweeping tendril smashed into the ground, a heartbeat behind him, sending a geyser of dust into the air. His lungs burned, his vision blurred. Every old and new wound screamed, but he pushed harder. The cliffs hummed, still awakened from Ryla's strike, still angry, still dangerous. Kale dove behind a crystal ridge and struck a seam with his spear. A directed pulse erupted upward, a stronger one than usual. Empowered by the valley's charged state, it blasted into the underside of a harvester, frying one of its tendril emitters. The machine screeched, a horrifying metallic sound that vibrated Kale's teeth. But it also drew the other two. "Kale?" Rhyla yelled from across the valley. "They're all turning to you." "I know," Kale shouted back. "That's the idea." He dodged another tendril swing, barely, rolling under a jutting slab of stone. "Vorin," he shouted, "hit the western seams, now!" Vorin leapt into action, rallying 4 warriors. They struck in rhythmic sequence. Thum, crack, thum, crack. The western cliffs detonated in a chain reaction of overlapping pulses. Energy waves slammed into 2 of the harvesters, sending them reeling into each other. The collision was massive. A shockwave tore across the valley, knocking Kale off his feet and hurling him into a crystal outcrop. Pain exploded down his back. "Kale!" Rhyla cried, sprinting toward him. He choked on blood. "Alive. Barely." One harvester stabilized and fired a net downward, but its sensors were so scrambled that the net veered off and struck a cliff wall instead. The net detonated, blowing apart a massive chunk of rock and sending a thunderous landslide barreling down the slope. "Move!" Kale screamed. Warriors and children dove aside as the ground trembled from the impact. The valley was becoming a death trap, and still the harvesters roared, their fury shaking the world. A harvester reared back, glowing furnace mouth aimed directly at Kale. Its tendrils spread wide, braces for a focused annihilation beam. "Kale!" Rhyla screamed. He tried to move, but his body wouldn't respond in time. His muscles spasmed, vision dimmed. "I can't," Kale gasped. And then, Rhyla was suddenly in front of him, her spear slamming into the nearest crystal seam. Not the right seam, not the safe one of the volatile ones. "Vrch!" Kale tried to stop her. The seam detonated. Boom, boom, crack. A massive wave of energy blasted outward. It struck the harvester at point-blank range. The creature's maw snapped shut. Its entire headplate cracked in half. Amber fluid sprayed in a fountain as its tendrils spasmed. The machine stumbled backward and toppled. A deafening crash shook the cliffs. Kale shielded Rhyla from the debris as metal and bone shattered against the valley floor. When the dust settled, one harvester lay motionless. Kale coughed violently, blood on his lips. But Rhyla collapsed. Not from injury, but from the backlash of the unstable seam. Her body trembled uncontrollably. Her eyes were unfocused. Static crawled across her skin like ghost fire. "Rhyla!" Kale shouted, pulling her into his arms. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps. "Too much," she whispered. I can't breathe." Kale held her tighter. No, stay with me." Her fingers curled weakly into his shirt. "Kale, I feel cold." He shook his head, voice cracking. "No, you're all right. Jatora rushed to them, staff glowing urgently. "Move aside," she commanded. Kale didn't. "Help her." Jatora pressed her hands to Ryla's temples. The energy backlash was severe, a crystal surge forcing itself into her nervous system. "It is inside her," Jatora whispered. "The cliff's lightning burns her spirit." "Fix it," Kale pleaded. "She saved us. Fix it." "I will try," Jatora said, "but the price she paid is heavy." Ryla's eyes fluttered. "Kale," her voice was thin, paper thin. "I'm here," he whispered. She managed a faint smile. "You're alive?" she breathed. "That's all that matters." Then her eyes rolled back, and she went still. Kale's heart froze. Rhyla went limp in his arms, and above them, the remaining 2 harvesters recovered, turning their massive heads toward the valley, eyes glowing with murderous intent. Kale gently laid Rhyla down, rose to his feet, and the enhancements inside him stirred like a waking giant. His voice was a growl, low and lethal. "You're next." Kale rose slowly, gently laying Rhyla on a bed of crystal-soft moss as Jatora worked to stabilize her. Static still crawled across her skin. Her breathing was shallow, ragged. Her courage had saved him, had saved the entire valley, but the price she paid was carved into her trembling body. Kale touched her cheek one last time. "I'll be back," he whispered. "Stay alive, that's an order." Her eyes didn't open. He turned, and something inside him shifted. Not rage, not hatred. Something colder, sharper, older. The enhancements within him, the war construct Earth had made, awakened fully for the first time since the crash. His pain faded to the edge of consciousness. His muscles tightened like drawn cables. His hearing sharpened until he could feel the harvester's engines as vibrations in his bones. The two remaining harvesters loomed at the southern ridge, tendrils unfurled like monstrous arms. They moved more cautiously now. The static blasts had taught them fear. But not enough. Kale stepped forward, each footfall deliberate, as if the ground reverberated with purpose beneath him. Vorin stared at him with wide eyes. By the stones, what's happening to him? Jatora answered without turning. He is becoming what he was forged to be. Kale spoke, voice dark as the cliff's shadow. Vorin, rouse every warrior we have. We're ending this. Vorin swallowed, then nodded fiercely. The harvesters screeched and charged. Kale moved, and the valley became a battlefield of impossible speed. He sprinted faster than any Terenan could track, ducking under a tendril swipe, rolling across jagged stone, and slamming his spear into a glowing crystal vein. Crack! Shoom! Crack! A massive pulse erupted. One harvester was thrown sideways, crashing into the cliff wall with enough force to crack its armored hide. Kale kept moving, rolling, striking, dodging. Every static burst he triggered was a blow from the land itself. The cliffs fought with him, fought through him. He struck another seam, and this time the entire ridge flared with light. Lightning arced downward like a falling star. It smashed into the harvester's wings, ripping half a blade free. The creature spiraled, shrieking in confusion. Vorin and 6 warriors surged forward, spears ready. For the steppe, Vorin bellowed. Kale roared back. For the living. Together they charged, and the war resumed in full fury. The valley erupted with coordinated chaos. Kale's training, the rhythm of strikes, the angled blows, the pulse timing, now came alive like a song the cliffs themselves had taught. Warriors slammed crystal pillars in perfect intervals. Thum, crack, crack. Each strike unleashed waves of static that disrupted the harvester's sensors. Children and elders huddled deep inside the caverns, clutching each other as the world trembled. Rhyla remained unconscious, her chest rising and falling in painful rhythm, Jatora chanting over her with trembling hands. Kale, Rhyla whispered faintly in her delirium. Don't. Jatora pressed a hand over Ryla's heart. Hush, child. He hears even what you do not say. On the battlefield, chaos escalated. One harvester swooped downward, tendrils whipping in wide arcs. A warrior screamed as he was flung across the valley, crashing into a pillar. Kale dove beneath the creature's belly, teeth gritted. He struck a seam, not a pulse seam, a resonance seam. He had noticed it only once before, during training. A seam that didn't burst outward, but hummed inward. Kale slammed his spear into it. The ground vibrated violently. The harvester faltered mid-flight, its engines sputtering, amber lights flickering wildly. Vorin shouted from behind a ridge, "He's grounding it!" Warriors jumped into action. 3 struck pillars in unison. The resulting shockwave formed a funnel of static, twisting upward like a reverse lightning bolt. It slammed into the harvester's exposed underside. The creature shrieked, mechanical and organic sound blending into one horrifying cry. Metal cracked. Amber blood sprayed. One of its tendrils snapped clean off, falling like a severed limb. But the second harvester dove low. Too low. It swept across the ground, nets firing indiscriminately. 2 warriors were caught. No! Kale roared. He sprinted, injuries forgotten, and leapt off a broken pillar. Mid-air, he grabbed the net, muscles screaming as he forced the tendrils apart. The net cracked with electrical fire, burning into his skin. Kale! Ryla's faint voice echoed from the cavern. He let the pain fuel him. With a primal shout, he tore the net apart, freeing the warriors, and landed hard enough to break stone. His breath came ragged, his armor was scorched, skin burned, augments overheating, but he stood, always stood. Vorin stared, shaken to his core. That's not a man, he breathed. That's something else. A young warrior beside him whispered with reverence. That's Wrathborn. The battle reached a fever pitch. The second harvester faltered, systems damaged. The first harvester, grounded by Kale's maneuver, limped backward, retreating from the lightning-charged stones. Kale staggered forward, spear dragging in the dirt, breath tearing from his lungs. We have to finish them, he growled, before they signal the fortress. Vorin shouted back, they already have. And then, a sound tore across the steppe. Low, deep, terrifying. A droning thrum that vibrated the bones of every living creature for miles. Kale froze. No, he whispered. The horizon shimmered. The clouds parted, and descending through the sky like a floating mountain of metal and flesh was the Vrax fortress itself. Rhyla, half-conscious, stirred. "Kale? What's happening?" Kale didn't answer. He couldn't. He only stared as the fortress lowered itself over the valley, casting a shadow so vast it swallowed the Reaver Cliffs whole. Tendrils unfurled. Armored plates shifted. Amber lights seared the darkness. The fortress was descending for one purpose: not to observe, not to capture, not to threaten, but to annihilate. Vorin choked on his breath. "We can't fight that." The clan trembled. Children cried. Even the cliffs hummed with nervous, unstable energy. Rhyla reached for Kale's arm, her voice weak but resolute. "Kale, please, don't let them win." He closed his eyes. The titan frame inside him roared. The cliffs vibrated. The air crackled. The valley itself seemed to inhale. Kale whispered back, "I won't." He raised his spear toward the descending fortress, and the chapter ends on the precipice of annihilation, with the Wrathborn preparing to face the full might of a Vrax war machine. The Vrax fortress hovered over the Reaver Cliffs, like the shadow of a dying sun. Its underbelly, a living mass of armored plates, glowing vents, and writhing tendrils, shifted and flexed with unsettling purpose. Amber light pulsed through its veins, throbbing like a heartbeat too large for the world. The clan stood frozen beneath it. Even the cliffs seemed to fall silent. Kale took a single step forward, staring up at the monstrosity with a soldier's cold understanding. "They're deploying its harvest array," he murmured. Rhyla tried to sit up, wincing in pain. Jatora held her steady. "What does that mean?" Rhyla breathed. Kale didn't soften his answer. "It means they're clearing the valley." A low, rising hum filled the air, vibrating through bone, stone, and the very ground beneath their feet. Children clamped their hands over their ears. Warriors staggered backward. Jatora's eyes widened in terror. Vorin shouted, "Kale, what do we do?" "Everyone, down!" Kale roared. They dove behind whatever stone and ridge they could reach. And the fortress unleashed its strike. A sweeping arc of amber energy cut across the valley, vaporizing crystal spikes, melting stone to molten rivers, and blasting open trenches where solid ground had been moments before. The shockwave hit next. The world heaved. Cliffs fractured. Tents tore apart. The corpse of the fallen harvester disintegrated into burning fragments. Kale shielded Rhyla and Jatora with his own body as the blast tore over them. When the dust finally settled, the valley was half unrecognizable. The central ridge was shattered. A third of the cliff passages had collapsed, and 24 warriors lay injured or unaccounted for. The fortress began charging for another strike. Kale forced himself to his feet, bleeding from a dozen reopened wounds. "Everyone up," he roared. "We have seconds. Move!" Vorin staggered to gather his warriors. Elders dragged children toward the remaining cavern entrance. Jatora pushed Rhyla onto Vorin's shoulder. Rhyla reached toward Kale with trembling fingers. "Kale, come." But he wasn't moving yet. He stared at the fortress, the thing that had taken his squad, his world, his life before the crash, and something inside him twisted. He whispered, "You didn't break me then. You won't break me now." The fortress finished charging, its tendrils repositioned, the amber glow intensified. And Kale turned toward the clan. "Run!" The clan fled through the last open passage into the heart of the Reaver Cliffs. The deep veins, ancient tunnels no living nomad had dared enter in generations. Kale ran at the rear, covering their escape, dodging falling rock and pulsing energy strikes. The fortress fired again. Crack! Boom! A blast tore across the valley floor, chasing the clan like a living wave of fire. Rhyla gasped, barely conscious. Are we going to make it?" Vorin grunted under her weight. "By the moons, we better." Kale grabbed 2 children who stumbled and swung them ahead into Vorin's arms. "Keep moving." The passages narrowed sharply. Jagged crystal teeth jutted downward. The ground was uneven and dangerously slick with dust. The fortress tried to angle its arrays into the canyon, but its beams collided with the rock walls instead, sending vibrations through the cliffs like a bell tolling doom. Jatora, leaning heavily on her staff, whispered, "The cliffs shift, they mourn, they prepare." Kale caught her before she fell. "Don't start speaking in riddles now, Elder, not today." She gave a faint smile. "You mock even when the world ends. It's a talent." The passage behind them collapsed from the fortress's third strike. A roaring shockwave blasted forward, Kale held up his arms to shield the clan as the tunnel partially caved, sealing off the rear completely. Dust choked the air. Silence followed. The fortress could no longer reach them. But now, they were trapped. Vorin coughed, spitting grit. "We made it. We actually—" Kale grabbed his shoulder. "Listen." Vorin froze. Everyone froze. In the darkness of the deep veins, something answered. A distant hum, a thrum of energy, a vibration in the stone. Rhyla stirred against Vorin. Her voice was faint, almost delirious. "I feel the cliffs breathing." Jatora nodded grimly. "Yes, they awaken." Kale hated that answer. "Are they waking in a good way?" he asked. Jatora didn't respond. Instead, she pointed into the depths of the caverns. "Something calls for you." Kale turned sharply. "That's not possible. I don't belong to this world." "Yet it calls you," she repeated. Kale opened his mouth, and then every crystal vein in the cavern lit up at once. A shimmering flow of blue-white light carved through the stone like veins beneath skin. Children gasped. Warriors stepped backward in awe. Rhyla's eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly in the reflected brilliance. "Kale," she whispered, "don't go toward it." But the light converged, not toward Rhyla, not toward Jatora, not toward the warriors, but toward him. A soft pulse resonated through the cavern walls, and a sound like a voice buried in wind rose from the depths. "Titanborn, we know your kind." The clan staggered back in fear. Jatora dropped to one knee. "The cliffs speak. They have not spoken since the first night of the tribes." Kale felt the hairs on his neck rise. "Who are you?" he demanded. The light pulsated again. The stone vibrated, and the voice echoed. "You carry the wrath of dying stars and the burden of broken worlds, Kale Rylan." His blood ran cold. They knew his full name. "Why are you calling me?" Kale whispered. The voice answered, "Because the Vrax descend, and you are the only one they fear." Rhyla struggled to lift her head. "Kale, do not listen. It's too much." He took a step backward. "No, I'm done being used. By the Vrax, by Earth, by anyone." But the cavern didn't relent. The crystal veins brightened. The stone itself seemed to shift, and the voice grew louder. "Come to the heart of the steppe, Wrathborn, and claim the power the Vrax stole." Then the light surged, and a blinding flash illuminated the entire cavern. The clan shielded their eyes. Kale staggered backward. And when the light faded, a symbol remained glowing on the cavern floor. A symbol Kale recognized instantly. An emblem he had not seen since the day his squad fell. The mark of the Titan Frame Command, branded onto the stone of a world he'd never been to. Kale whispered, "That's impossible." But the voice said only, "Come." Rhyla reached for him weakly. "Kale, don't leave us." He knelt beside her instantly, taking her trembling hand. "I'm right here," he said. "I'm not going anywhere." But his eyes drifted back to the glowing symbol, and the growing truth he could no longer deny. Terenas wasn't just reacting to him, it knew him. The symbol pulsed faintly on the cavern floor, a geometric shape of intersecting hex lines, radiating a core emblem that every Titan Frame soldier knew intimately. The mark of the Ascendancy Corps. The mark burned into every training hall, every mission briefing deck, every coffin of fallen soldiers. Kale staggered forward, staring as if the world had broken open. "That's impossible," he whispered. "This world shouldn't know anything about Titan Frames. The Corps never came this far out. Earth never even charted this region." Rhyla's weak voice reached him. "Kale." "What is it?" He lowered himself beside her, lifting her gently into a half-sitting position. "It's my people's mark," he said quietly. "The symbol of the soldiers who fought the Vrax long before I was born." Jatora's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Then perhaps your people were not the first to fall into our skies." "That's not—" Kale froze, his breath catching. His memory flickered. The codes the Corps used to communicate in deep space, the emergency distress beacons. The symbol on the ground wasn't just decorative. It was a locator sigil. A directional beacon meant to point toward a hidden bunker, armory, or shelter. But why here? Why on a world the Union never mapped? Kale pressed his palm against the glowing lines. Instantly, the cliff vibrated. The crystal veins pulsed in response. Not wildly, not violently, but in a rhythm. A pattern. Tap, 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 tap. Rhyla clutched Kale's sleeve. "Kale, that pattern, the Cliffs used it during the Warbeast fight. The same rhythm." Kale's throat tightened. "It's a Titan Frame code. Subvocal command pulses." Jatora stepped closer. "Explain, soldier." Kale swallowed. "They're how the Corps communicated in combat when radios were jammed. Vibrational codes. Simple commands. He looked at the symbol again as the pulses repeated. Tap, 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 tap. Rhyla squeezed Kale's hand, her voice trembling. What is it saying? Kale's answer made the cavern feel colder. It's saying, Welcome, Titan. The clan examined the illuminated sigil with awe and fear. Children hid behind adults. Warriors touched their weapons but did not raise them. The cliffs hummed softly as if waiting. Jatora approached Kale. This symbol was not made by our people, she said, yet it lives here, deep within our land. Why would it call to you? Kale shook his head. I don't know. I shouldn't know. Ryla's breathing hitched suddenly, and Kale immediately leaned toward her. Rhyla, what's wrong? Her skin shivered with faint static. The veins in her arms glowed like thin lines of blue fire. I can hear them, she whispered. The cliffs, the light, they whisper. Kale felt terror spike in his chest. You're overloaded, he said urgently. The crystals surge. It's still inside you. Jatora nodded grimly. Yes, her spirit was touched by the lightning veins. She cannot withstand another awakening. Rhyla grabbed Kale's arm, her grip surprisingly strong. Kale, don't go deeper. Something down there, it changes people. Kale's heart twisted. He didn't want to go deeper. He didn't want to leave her side. But the fortress was tearing the cliffs apart outside. If the tunnels collapsed, they were dead anyway. He forced himself to steady his voice. We need to move, now. Voran helped stabilize Rhyla on his back, while warriors formed a protective ring. Kale led at the front, following the pulses of light down a spiraling passage. The air grew warmer, the crystals brighter, the hums stronger. Children clung to parents as the tunnels widened into grand, ancient corridors carved long before any living Terenan had walked them. Symbols etched into the walls began to appear. Spirals, hex grids, constellations not found in Terenan skies, and shapes that looked hauntingly like Titan frame armor patterns. Rhyla whispered feverishly, They were here. Kale, they were here before you. No, Kale said, it can't be. The core never told us anything about. The tunnel shook violently. Stone dust rained from above. The fortress was drilling into the cliffs. Voran shouted, Faster, they're breaking through. Kale took the lead more aggressively, following the pulses that now flickered like a heartbeat accelerating. The passage opened into a massive cavern, larger than any yet. The clan gasped, even Kale froze, because inside the cavern, embraced by roots of shimmering crystal, lay the ruins of something unmistakable. A human dropship hull. Broken, fused with stone, ancient. The markings were faded, but Kale recognized the emblem instantly. Ascendancy Core, Recon Unit 22. Rhyla stared weakly at him. What does that mean? Kale? He answered in a whisper hollow with dread. It means humans have been here before. The dropship hull dominated the cavern, cracked open, half swallowed by crystal growth. Its once sleek sides were now veined with blue luminescence, as though the cliffs had absorbed it over generations. Warriors, elders, and children approached it with reverent fear. Is this a sky card of your people? A young warrior whispered. Kale nodded slowly. Yes, or it was. Rhyla, still supported by Voran, stared at the wreckage with wide, exhausted eyes. Kale, how old is it? Kale touched the hull. It was cold, far too cold. His Titan frame glove flickered with diagnostic readings. Hundreds of years, he breathed, maybe more. He stepped inside the cracked open craft. His heart pounded. The interior was fused with crystal. Panels melted, screens dark, skeletons long gone, or perhaps broken down by the minerals. He found a data plate embedded in the wall. He wiped off the crystallized dust and felt his stomach drop when the engraved text revealed itself. Rylan. Commander Tessa Rylan, Ascendancy Core. Rhyla saw his face fall and whispered from the hull entrance. Kale. Who is that? He stared at the inscription, jaw tightening, voice hollow. She was my ancestor. The cavern itself hummed in response, the crystal veins lighting more intensely around the name as if recognizing it. Jatora stepped forward, her eyes widening. You were not the first Rylan to walk our world. Kale turned toward her, emotion warring behind his eyes. But the core never told us. There were no records of this. It seems your people forgot, Jatora said softly, but the world did not. Rhyla reached a trembling hand toward him. Kale, I don't understand. He knelt beside her, his voice shook. My ancestor crash-landed here, just like I did, but she never returned. She died here. And the cliffs absorbed her dropship, her tech, maybe even her memories. He looked around at the glowing veins. How long has this world been whispering to Titan frames? How long has it been waiting? Silence echoed. Then the pulsing light focused on the center of the cavern. A structure rose from the floor, crystalline, ancient, shaped like a heart of the mountain itself. As it unfolded, the voice from earlier returned. "Welcome home, Wrathborn." Kale stood slowly, staring at the living crystal construct. "What are you?" he demanded. The voice answered, "We are the heart of the steppe. We remember the first Rylan. We recognize her blood. We recognize the enemy." Kale's breath froze in his chest. Rhyla whispered, "Kale, the world has claimed you." The heart pulsed brighter. "Claim him? No, we choose him." Kale clenched his fists. "I don't want to be chosen. I want to keep these people alive." The answer shook the cavern. "Then you must become what she could not." The fortress struck the cliffs again. The cavern quaked. Kale stepped toward the heart. "That's why you called me," he whispered, "to finish a battle she started." The heart pulsed. The Vrax returned for what was stolen from them long ago. Kale's eyes narrowed. "What did my ancestor take?" The answer hit like a thunderclap. "Everything." Ryla's labored whisper, "Kale, please, don't let them take you too." The heart of the steppe pulsed brighter as shards of crystal shifted into symmetrical patterns, illuminating the cavern like the inside of a living star. Ryla's breathing weakened, her skin still flickering with residual static. Vorin laid her gently against a glowing wall as Jatora worked feverishly to stabilize her pulse. Kale stood at the center of the cavern before the heart, fists clenched, every muscle trembling with confusion and fear. "What did my ancestor take?" Kale demanded. "What did she steal from the Vrax?" The heart responded with a rising hum, the crystal veins throughout the cavern brightening until the entire world seemed to glow. An image formed in the air, a woman wearing Titan frame light armor battered and scorched, half her helmet missing, but unmistakably human. Her name tag flashed across the projection. Commander Tessa Rylan, Ascendancy Corps, Recon Unit 22. Rhyla stared weakly. "She looks like you." Kale flinched. The holographic memory began to move, distorted, fragmented, like the cliffs were replaying a broken recording. The scene showed a younger Terenas Vrax, towers not yet grown, clans running, crystals flashing with uncontrolled surges, and Commander Rylan standing before a looming Vrax construct, holding a pulsating sphere of blue light energy. Kale's breath caught. "That device, it looks like." The heart amplified the memory. Tessa Rylan shouted into the wind, "You will not have this power, not again." The Vrax commander roared, "Return the seed. It is ours." The hologram flickered violently as Tessa activated the device. The steppe itself erupted in blinding light. The Vrax fortress collapsed, the sky split open, then the recording shattered. The cavern went dark. Silence swallowed the clan. Kale staggered backward, heart pounding. "Tessa, she wasn't stealing from them," Kale whispered. "She was stopping them." Jatora lifted her staff. "Then what she took was a weapon," Vorin grunted, "or something worse." The heart pulsed again, speaking with a chorus-like voice. "The seed of sovereignty, the Vrax's first source of dominion. Commander Rylan severed their claim and entrusted its echo to us." Kale stepped back, horrified. "You mean the seed is inside this world?" A long pause. "It became the steppe." Jatora gasped. "The land's power, the crystal veins, the storms." "It's the seed," Kale whispered. "A power the Vrax used to conquer hundreds of worlds. A power my ancestor hid here to keep the galaxy safe." Rhyla reached for Kale with a trembling hand. "Kale, they're not here for us. They're here for you, for your blood, because you can access what she sealed." Kale froze. The truth hit him like a hammer. The Vrax didn't want him dead. They wanted him alive. To open whatever Tessa Rylan locked away, Kale whispered, "They need a Rylan." The cavern pulsed in grim confirmation. Kale pressed both hands against the cavern wall, breathing hard. He didn't want this. He didn't ask for this. He was supposed to repair his ship, rejoin the war, return to duty, not find buried legacies, not awaken ancient seeds, not relive the choices of dead ancestors. Ryla's voice rasped softly from the floor. "Kale, you don't have to follow her path." He knelt beside her immediately. Her skin burned hot, her heartbeat faltered. Veins glowed like thin lightning. "Rhyla, don't talk," Kale whispered. "Save your strength." She shook her head weakly. "I'm dying." Kale felt the world tilt. No, you're not. I won't let you." "The cliff's lightning is inside me," she whispered. It's not meant for Terenan blood. Jatora placed a trembling hand on Kale's shoulder. She cannot survive much longer unless we reach the heart's core. Kale looked up sharply. The heart can heal her? It can try, Jatora said, but only if you unlock what your ancestor sealed. Kale's breath caught. That seed, the power that toppled a fortress, if I release it, it might heal her, Jatora said. Or kill her, Voran added grimly. Ryla's eyes flickered open. Kale, choose to save them, not me. He grabbed her hand fiercely. I'm not losing anyone else, not again. The heart pulsed brighter, acknowledging him. The Vrax approach. You cannot flee, you cannot hide, only the Wrathborn can choose how this ends. Kale closed his eyes. His squad's faces flashed before him, the ones he failed to save, then the villagers he saved, the children. Voran, Rhyla. He stood slowly, his voice steady. Tell me what I have to do. The heart answered, you must enter the core. Everyone turned to the far end of the cavern, where a crystalline archway began to open, revealing a descending path of ancient stone steps glowing with blue fire. The tunnel breathed like a living thing. Ryla's hand reached weakly toward Kale. Please, don't go alone. He cupped her cheek gently. I have to. Her eyes filled with tears. Come back to me. He swallowed hard. I will. But inside, he wasn't sure at all. Kale turned toward the descending path, toward the unknown, when a thunderous explosion shook the cavern. The ceiling cracked. A massive tendril ripped through the stone from above. The Vrax fortress had begun drilling directly into the deep veins. Voran cursed loudly. They've cut through. Warriors scrambled to form ranks. Children screamed. Elders cried warnings. Another section of the ceiling collapsed. A metallic Vrax crawler dropped through the opening, its tendrils clawing the ground. Sleek, armored infantry poured out of the crawler, tall, reptilian, plated, and armed with amber rifles that hissed with lethal energy. Vrax soldiers. Jatora raised her staff. They come for the Wrathborn. Kale moved instantly. Voran, hold them off. Buy us time. Voran gave him a fierce grin. With pleasure, he spun his spear, rallying the warriors. For the steppe, protect the clan. The warriors charged. The cavern erupted into battle. Amber rifle bolts ricocheted off crystal walls. Spears cracked tendrils. Warriors struck resonant seams to blind the enemy. The cliffs thundered in response. A Vrax soldier fired at Rhyla. Kale caught the shot with his armored gauntlet, sparks flying as he crushed the rifle barrel with one hand. Voran roared, Go, Kale, we'll hold them. Kale hesitated, torn between his duty and Rhyla. Rhyla reached toward him, her voice a trembling whisper. Kale, you have to, or all this is for nothing. He gripped her hand for a heartbeat longer. Then he rose, turned toward the crystalline archway, and sprinted toward the core. Behind him, the battle erupted in full fury. Warriors clashing with Vrax in the glowing cavern, children screaming as elders shielded them, Rhyla fading in Jatora's arms. The heart spoke again. Come, Wrathborn, destiny approaches. And Kale descended into the depths to face the truth. Tessa Rylan died to bury. Jatora gasped, the land's power, the crystal veins, the storms. It's the seed, Kale whispered. A power the Vrax used to conquer hundreds of worlds, a power my ancestor hid here to keep the galaxy safe. Rhyla reached for Kale with a trembling hand. Kale, they're not here for us. They're here for you, for your blood, because you can access what she sealed. Kale froze. The truth hit him like a hammer. The Vrax didn't want him dead. They wanted him alive. To open whatever Tessa Rylan locked away. Kale whispered, They need a Rylan. The cavern pulsed in grim confirmation. The crystalline archway sealed behind Kale the moment he stepped through. A pulse of energy rippled down the staircase ahead, ancient, rhythmic, patient. The air shifted from earthy cavern winds to something heavier, charged with static and memory. Kale's boots echoed along the descending steps as faint blue light pulsed through the walls, guiding him deeper. He gripped his spear tightly. The weapon felt small now, insignificant compared to the weight of the world pressing in around him. The deeper he descended, the more the air changed. Metallic tang, ozone crackle, warm, almost humid currents, like breath. The steppe felt alive here. A voice whispered through the stone. Wrathborn. Kale froze. I'm not here for titles, he growled. I'm here for answers. The light brightened. A gentle hum vibrated through the stairway. Then seek. Kale continued downward, emerging into a vast chamber, a colossal sphere carved into the heart of the cliffs. Floating at its center was a crystal construct, a lattice of glowing veins intertwined like roots around a suspended orb of shifting blue energy. The seed's echo. Kale's breath caught. So this is what she hid. The chamber flickered with light, and then, suddenly, painfully, Commander Tessa Rylan appeared before him. Not a hologram, not a ghost, a memory projection infused with crystal and neural resonance. She stood inches from him, armor cracked, eyes fierce. "You made it," she said softly. Kale's heart twisted. He whispered, "Commander?" The memory responded, "If you're seeing this, it means Terenas still stands, and the Vrax have returned." The chamber darkened, the seed pulsed louder. Kale stepped closer, toward the memory of the woman whose blood ran in his veins. She continued, "I couldn't kill the Vrax back then, not without releasing the seed and risking the galaxy, so I did the only thing I could." Her projection lifted her palm. "I bound it, and I paid the price." The projection flickered, her armor melting into a shell of crystal-veined bone, her figure dissolving into light. Kale staggered backward. "Tessa," he whispered. The cliffs answered for her. "She became one with us." The seed pulsed, a heartbeat from the earth itself. The chamber vibrated with rising energy. Kale steadied his breath. "Tell me what it really is." The voice of the heart answered, "A creation, a prison, a curse." Blue veins along the walls lit up with visions, ancient, alien, and violent. Kale saw them, the Vrax before conquest. Not monstrous, not armored, not hateful, just another struggling species on a dying world. Then, a flash of brilliance, a crystalline meteor, the seed plunging into their world like a gift from the stars. The Vrax touched it, and it changed them, enhanced them, strengthened them, made them terrible, but it also drove them mad. The vision flickered. The Vrax devoured their own sky, conquered their moon, burned their oceans, built their first fortress from the seed's residue. Kale whispered, "It made them stronger and unhinged. It made them sovereign." The heart spoke more urgently now. Tessa Rylan severed their bond to the seed. She buried its echo here, where only her blood could find it. Kale's fists tightened. "That's why they want me alive." "Yes. And if I release it?" Kale asked. "You will become what the seed makes you." Kale stiffened. "What does it make me?" "More." He hated the answer. Kale moved closer to the floating seed. It pulsed gently, almost invitingly. He felt it tugging at him, offering strength, offering survival, offering power. He thought of the fortress drilling through the cliffs. He thought of the clan, dying in the tunnels above. He thought of Voran fighting to cover his retreat. He thought of Rhyla, fading away, consumed by static. He whispered, "I could save them." The heart answered in a voice that shook the chamber, "Or doom us all." Above, the tunnel war reached its breaking point. The ceiling shattered as a second Vrax crawler plunged into the cavern. Voran roared a battle cry and hurled himself toward it, spear raised. For the steppe, warriors charged behind him, crashing against the Vrax invaders in a storm of crystal and steel. Amber blasts tore through the air. A warrior fell, smoking. Another was flung into a pillar. A third screamed as tendrils wrapped around his leg. Jatora dragged children behind broken crystal growths, chanting defensive spells older than written language. Rhyla lay propped against the cavern wall, her skin glowing faintly, her breath labored. Her eyes fluttered open long enough to see a Vrax soldier bearing down on Voran. She tried to shout, but only a whisper emerged. "No." The soldier swung its plasma blade. Voran parried, barely, sparks exploding from his spear. He grunted, muscles shaking, sweat mixing with blood. "Kale, if you don't come back." He drove the spear forward, screaming, "We die here." The Vrax forced him back step by step. Rhyla reached a trembling hand toward the core's sealed archway. "Kale, hurry." The fortress above fired another drill laser. The entire cavern shook. Crystal veins cracked, the ceiling ruptured. Warriors fell from their feet. And through the dust-choked chaos, the Vrax commander emerged. Taller than the others, armored in black gold plate, its eyes burning with murderous purpose. It surveyed the battle, raised a clawed hand, and pointed toward Rhyla. Voran spun. No, but he was too far. The commander's tendrils snapped forward. Rhyla gasped, weak, dying, unprotected. Voran threw his weapon. It shattered uselessly against the commander's armor. The tendril descended toward Ryla's throat, and in the depths of the core, Kale froze. He felt her fear like a physical blow. He felt the entire steppe tremble. He felt the seed pulse in sync with his heartbeat. He whispered, "No." The seed responded, "Choose." Kale clenched his fists. His eyes burned. His muscles trembled. He shouted into the chamber, "I choose her!" And Kale reached for the seed. The moment Kale's fingers brushed the seed, the world stopped. Light froze. Sound died. Even his heartbeat paused. Then, everything ignited. A shockwave exploded through his body, flooding every cell, every nerve, every bone with searing brilliance. His vision dissolved into colors he had no name for. Shapes twisted into memories that weren't his. A battlefield he'd never seen. A sky burned by a sun that wasn't Earth's. A woman's voice whispering, "Hold the line, Kale." Tessa Rylan's memories. Kale gasped, collapsing to one knee, but the seed held him upright with tendrils of living light. Images flickered faster. Tessa fighting Vrax troops alongside clans of old, the seed pulsing in her hands. The moment she split it from the Vrax mind, the instant she buried it in the steppe, her dying breath against crystal stone. And her final thoughts? Someone must return, someone of my line, someone who can finish what I started. Kale screamed, and the seed screamed back. It poured through him like molten thunder, reshaping his senses, amplifying strength already beyond human. Then the heart spoke. "Titan and Steppe, your blood and our power shall become one." The seed surged. Kale convulsed. His veins lit blue. His eyes burned silver. His muscles expanded with Titan frame density, reinforced by something older, crystalline, living. He wasn't just enhanced. He was becoming something else. Rhyla felt the shift from across the upper cavern. Her eyes fluttered open. "Kale." Her voice broke. "What have you done?" He whispered through clenched teeth. "Everything I had to." The core chamber erupted. Crystals shattered. Blue fire spilled across the walls. The seed's energy spiraled up Kale's arms, carving glowing lines across his skin like luminous battle scars. Kale rose slowly, and when he opened his eyes, lightning flickered inside them. He wasn't healed. He wasn't whole. He wasn't stable, but he was powerful. A living conduit for the steppe's ancient force. His voice echoed with a layered resonance, part human, part something unmistakably tied to the cliffs. Rhyla. He could feel her life flickering like a candle in a windstorm. He could feel her pain, her fear, her fading warmth. He clenched his fists, light sparking from his palms. "Hold on." The seed pulsed, recognizing his intent. A passage opened. Kale sprinted up the crystalline stairs, so fast the walls blurred, so fast the tunnel bent with wind pressure, so fast his Titan frame enhancements barely kept him conscious. He burst into the upper cavern like a thunderclap. Warriors and Vrax soldiers alike staggered as a surge of energy rolled through the chamber. Even the Vrax commander froze, because what stepped into the cavern was not the man they had hunted. It was something glowing with the wrath of the cliffs. Rhyla saw him and whispered, "Kale, you're glowing." The Vrax commander snarled in recognition, "Seed-bearer." Kale's lip curled. "You should have stayed in the sky." He raised his hand, and the walls responded. Lightning erupted from the crystal veins, converging toward him as though he were a lightning rod. The commander roared in alarm, ordering its troops forward. Kale stepped into the storm he summoned. His skin crackled with static. His hair whipped with energy. His voice deepened, vibrating the stone. "You hurt my people." The lightning intensified. "You hunted me." Tendrils of energy crawled along his arms. "You nearly killed her." The cavern walls pulsed with the steppe's heart. And then, Kale unleashed the storm. The Vrax commander reacted instantly, leaping high as a blast of blue-white lightning surged past its position, vaporizing 3 infantry in a flash. It landed with claws extended, armor unfolding like layers of obsidian knives. "Wrathborn," it hissed, voice shaking the air, "you were not meant to exist." Kale's answer was cold. "Neither were you." They collided. Kale moved faster, a blur of light and force. He struck with the cliff's power behind every blow. The commander countered with raw brutality, striking with armored limbs capable of shattering tanks. They traded blows in a storm of sparks and shrapnel. Kale ducked under a plasma swipe, slammed his fist into the commander's ribs, cracked 2 plates. But the commander retaliated, hammer fist to Kale's sternum, sending him skidding across the cavern floor. Kale caught himself on one knee, energy bleeding from his eyes like radiant tears. "You're stronger than the others." Kale spat blood. The commander's mandibles flexed in something like a smile. "I am sovereign class, reborn in the seed's absence, and built to crush your kind." It lunged. Kale blocked the strike, barely, and the impact sent shockwaves through the cavern. "Terenas belongs to us," the commander hissed. "It belongs to its people." Kale snapped. The commander struck again. Kale absorbed the hit, drove a fist into the ground, and a crystal spike erupted beneath the commander, impaling its leg joint. The creature shrieked. Kale surged forward, energy blazing across his forearms. For Rhyla, he slammed a charged palm strike into the commander's chest. The impact hurled the alien across the cavern, but Kale collapsed forward, panting, body trembling violently. The seed's power was overwhelming his nervous system. Jatora screamed, "He cannot hold it long. It will tear him apart." Rhyla reached out weakly. "Kale, stop, please. It's killing you." He dragged himself to his feet anyway. "I don't care," Kale rasped, "as long as it kills them first." The commander rose from the rubble, armor cracked, ichor pouring from its wounds. "Wrathborn," it snarled, "I will tear the seed from your corpse." Kale straightened despite the pain, hands glowing fiercely. "Come try." And the two forces charged at each other again, the living thunder of the steppe versus the sovereign terror of the Vrax. The battle for the heart of the world began in earnest. Stone screamed, lightning boiled, and the seed's power tore the cavern apart as Kale rose, glowing like a fragment of living storm. The Vrax commander sensed it instantly, and for the first time in its engineered life, it hesitated. "Kale Rylan," it hissed, claws flexing, "the seed devours you. You kill yourself with every heartbeat." Kale's voice came out layered, thunderous, part human, part the ancient resonance of Terenas itself. "You killed her." Lightning exploded across his shoulders like wings. "You killed my clan." The floor cracked. "You killed the only future I had." The commander roared and charged. Kale met him head-on. When they struck, the entire mountain convulsed. The shockwave blasted through the cavern, shattering crystal spines and hurling warriors off their feet. Tunnels collapsed. Ancient roots of glowing stone detonated like flares. Kale threw the commander backward with a single blow that cratered the far wall. The Vrax staggered up, armor splitting, ichor pouring from cracks. "You should not be possible," it snarled. Kale stepped forward, each step thunder. "Neither should monsters like you." His fist glowed like a newborn star as he drove it into the commander's torso. The impact sent a ripple of seismic force up the cliff face. Stone burst, crystals shattered, an entire ridge collapsed outside, sending a landslide roaring down the steppe. Enraged, the commander's armor unfolded like a grotesque flower, revealing a secondary plating beneath, black as void, etched with sovereign glyphs. Its arms extended into hooked blades. A dorsal spine flared with searing amber light. "I was forged to end titans," it bellowed. "You are nothing but a flawed vessel." It lunged faster than before, a blur of blades aimed directly for Kale's heart. Kale caught the blades with his bare hands. Lightning poured along them. The metal screamed. The commander shrieked as its weapons began to melt. Kale leaned forward, eyes burning white. "I'm not a vessel." He crushed the blades. "I'm the storm." They traded blows that defied physics. Kale slammed the commander into a crystal spine. The spine detonated like a bomb. The commander tackled Kale through a stalactite thicker than a tree trunk. Kale seized a resonance vein and punched, triggering a cascading static pulse sent both combatants spinning across the chamber. The commander stabbed Kale through the shoulder. Kale grabbed the blade, snapped it off, and drove it through the commander's thigh. Every impact made the cavern tremble. Every strike shook the cliffs. Outside, the Vrax fortress drifted lower, probing beams slicing through mountain walls. Inside, the battle became pure chaos. The commander pinned Kale against a collapsing wall, pressing its remaining blade into his throat. "The seed is mine," it roared. Kale grabbed its wrist, sparks flying. "No." He pushed back. "No, it isn't." The stone behind him cracked under the force. The seed flared inside him, threatening to tear him apart. But Kale pushed harder. Not because he was stronger, but because he refused to die while Ryla's fate hung in the balance. With a final roar, he overpowered the Sovereign and hurled it upward through the cavern's ceiling. Sunlight burst into the cavern for a brief moment as the commander crashed onto an upper ledge outside, rolling across shattered stone. Kale leapt after it, propelled on a pillar of lightning that blew the floor apart behind him. Warriors below watched him rise through the debris like the avatar of the cliffs. Vorin stared upward in awe. "By all the gods, he is Wrathborn." Kale landed on the upper ledge, stone cracking beneath him. The commander rose, dazed, armor melting, limbs shaking. Above them loomed the Vrax fortress, its underside glowing with the gathering charge of a planet-cleaving beam. The commander spread its remaining claws. "If I cannot claim the seed, I will take this world from you." It charged with suicidal fury. Kale clenched his fists. Lightning spiraled around his arms. "You already took everything from me." His voice broke. "But not today." The commander struck, but Kale was faster. He dodged, grabbed its arm, twisted. The bone metal structure snapped like brittle glass. Kale hammered a lightning fist into its skull. Then again, then again. Each strike sent a shockwave echoing across the steppe. The commander shrieked in desperation and drove its remaining blade into Kale's abdomen. But Kale didn't stop. He grabbed the commander by the throat, lifted it into the air, and slammed it down with all the fury of the heart of the steppe swirling inside him, triggering a resonance quake that shattered the entire ledge. Stone fell, crystals burst. The commander's chest plate cracked open. Kale stood over it. "You took Rhyla," the commander gurgled. "You can't win," Kale whispered. "Watch me." He drove a lightning-coated fist straight through the commander's core. A shockwave exploded outward, a blinding flash erupting from the Sovereign's collapsing body. And then, silence. The commander's body disintegrated into amber dust, carried away on the wind. Kale fell to one knee, shaking, bleeding, barely conscious. But alive. He whispered, voice trembling, "Rhyla." He staggered, almost falling. The mountain groaned beneath him, because the fortress overhead was beginning its final attack, and Kale no longer had the strength to stop it. But he would try. Fahuh. The wind howled over the shattered ledge, carrying dust, shards of crystal, and the faint scent of burned stone. Above Kale, blotting out half the sky, the Vrax fortress hovered, its underside glowing with an intensity that made the air vibrate. The planet-killer charge. The same one that had annihilated 3 worlds, Kale had once fought to save. Kale stood on shaking legs, forehead bleeding, lightning crawling weakly down his arms as the seed flickered erratically inside him. His body couldn't contain this power much longer. He looked down through the cracked ledge into the ruined cavern below. He saw Vorin and the warriors dragging the wounded away, Jatora shielding children with her staff, the mountains splitting open under the fortress's heat, and Rhyla, lying where he left her. Still, silent, fading. Kale's breath hitched. "Rhyla." He leapt down the ledge, stumbling as his knees nearly buckled, and rushed to her side. He lifted her gently, cradling her against his chest. Her skin was too pale, her breath too faint, her pulse too weak. Her eyelids fluttered at the sound of his voice. "Kale?" "I'm here," he whispered, voice cracking. "I'm right here." She smiled weakly. "You came back. I always do." Her fingers brushed the glowing cracks along his cheek. "You're burning up." Kale swallowed hard. "The seed?" He looked toward the fortress as the beam grew brighter. "It's tearing me apart." Ryla's smile faded as she understood. He could save her. He could save the world. But not both. She cupped his cheek with trembling fingers. "Kale, don't die for me." "I'm not losing you," he whispered fiercely. Her voice broke. "Then don't let them take your soul." The crystal veins around them pulsed. The heart of the steppe's voice rose from the shattered ground like wind made of memory. Only one path preserves life. Kale clenched Rhyla tighter. "Tell me." "Submit your life to the seed. Let it consume you. Through your sacrifice, the fortress will fall." Kale stared up at the sky. The fortress was seconds from firing, and her, he whispered. Silence. Then, she will live. Kale's breath caught. He looked down at Rhyla. Her eyes filled with tears. "Kale, don't." The fortress beam reached full charge. The mountain trembled. The sky turned amber bright. Warriors screamed for Kale to run. Children cried. Jatora whispered prayers older than the clans. Kale closed his eyes. Lightning spread from his body across the broken stone, forming veins that reached toward the horizon. He lifted Rhyla gently into Vorin's arms. "Take her. Keep her safe." Vorin's voice broke. "Kale, don't do this." Kale smiled faintly. "Make it count." He turned toward the fortress. The seed pulsed once, twice, then flared like a star igniting. Kale roared and unleashed everything. All of it. The cliffs answered. The heart answered. The ancient seed answered. A pillar of blue-white lightning erupted beneath Kale's feet, launching him skyward like a meteor rising instead of falling. The fortress fired its beam. A blinding, annihilating column of amber light descended, and Kale met it head-on. Lightning collided with apocalypse. Shockwaves split the mountain. The steppe caught fire. The fortress buckled under its own recoil. The sky shattered with thunder. Below, the clan watched in awe and horror as Kale held back a weapon made to end civilizations. His body burned. His armor melted. His voice roared in a mix of agony and defiance. "You don't get this world." The seed surged. His aura grew brighter. His outline dissolved into radiant storm. And Kale whispered, softly, peacefully, lovingly, "Live, Rhyla." Then he detonated. A supernova of pure crystalline lightning exploded outward, swallowing the fortress, ripping its hull apart, tearing it into 1,000 molten shards that rained across the steppe like falling stars. The fortress screamed, then vanished in a blossom of blue fire. Silence followed. Terrible, beautiful, absolute. The mountain lay broken, the fortress reduced to drifting ash. The steppe glowed with gentle, sorrowful light. Rhyla regained consciousness in Voron's arms as the storm faded. "Kale," she whispered weakly, but the wind carried no answer. Only the distant, fading echo of lightning and the quiet heartbeat of a world mourning its champion. Thanks for listening, and remember to like and subscribe. He leaned his forehead against hers. "I love you," her lips trembled. "I didn't want you to say it. Not if it means goodbye."